Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to do something really fascinating. We are going to completely reframe how we view world history by anchoring it in the most universal, biological, and honestly, the most intimate human institution of all, the family. So let's jump right in with a massive question. Is the grand sweep of history driven purely by abstract forces, economics and geopolitics? Or is it driven by something much more intimate? When we look back at the rise and fall of empires, it's so easy to just focus on the institutions. But behind every single throne, behind every conquering army, are individual people who are bound by the exact same familial loves, grudges, and bonds that we experience today. There's this fantastic quote by the writer Samuel Johnson that just hits the nail on the head. By juxtaposing the cozy, familiar concept of a family with the lethal reality of royal dynasties, we start to see exactly how bloodlines shaped the ancient world. A family can be this wonderful web of warmth and nurturing, right? But when you throw absolute power into the mix, it can also become a web of struggle, cruelty, and total devastation. To really wrap our heads around this, we've got to start our story incredibly small, like literally footsteps in the sand small. Discovered back in 2013 on an English beach in Happisburg, these are the mysterious footprints of a male and 4 children just walking together nearly 1,000,000 years ago. These prints are the oldest traces of a human family. Long before kingdoms or writing even existed, this tiny family unit was the absolute center of survival. And when you zoom out to look at the epic scale of early human migration, the journey is just staggering. Originating in Africa, these little family units migrated across the entire globe looking for food and safety. They were crossing vast oceans in small boats, battling ice ages, encountering other hominins. Now, as humans started settling into villages, biology basically forced us to create what we can call the cozy family. Human babies have these massive brains, which made childbirth incredibly dangerous and required a dedicated group of related people just to nurture and protect them. But, and this is a big but, as those tribes grew into cities and mere survival turned into a quest for absolute dominance, those cozy units evolved into brutal power families. In these ancient dynasties, intimacy got completely distorted by politics, and the greatest danger you faced often came directly from the people sitting at your own dinner table. Look at this massive shift across human civilization, bridging the gap from hunter-gatherers building the incredible stone temples of Göbekli Tepe, all the way to the explosive population growth of the first cities like Uruk. Notice how for thousands of years, the global population was just kind of stuck around 4 to 5 million. But then, as agriculture took hold and cities formed, populations absolutely exploded to 27 million. This completely set the stage for the very first empires. All right, Section 1, the first power dynasty, the House of Sargon. So, when war, food storage, and the brand new invention of writing all coalesced in ancient Iraq, a singular man stepped up to harness all that power. Sargon built his own myth, and it sounds exactly like a modern superhero origin story. He claimed he was conceived in secret, abandoned in a river basket sealed with tar, and then rescued by a water carrier, eventually rising all the way up to become the royal cupbearer. After surviving a treacherous assassination plot, which he was supposedly warned about by a terrifying dream of the goddess Inanna, Sargon unleashed his ambition, literally smashing his rivals' skulls to forge the mighty Akkadian Empire. But here's the thing, the power of Sargon's family didn't just end with him. His daughter, Enheduanna, was an absolute powerhouse in her own right. Positioned by her father as the high priestess of the moon goddess, she commanded these vast temple estates. She even had her own named hairdresser, which is a detail I absolutely love. But most importantly, she is the very first named author in human history. She's literally the first woman whose specific words and personal experiences we can actually hear echoing across the millennia. And her story is one of truly harrowing survival. When a rebel named Lugal violently seized her city, he assaulted her to legitimize his own power and usurp Sargon's bloodline. But she survived it. When her family finally reconquered the empire, she reclaimed her agency by writing viscerally emotional poetry about her exile, her abuse, and her ultimate triumph. She wrote, "A slobbery hand was laid across my honeyed mouth. I am Enheduanna, let me speak to you." It is just an incredibly powerful, deeply human voice reaching out to us from over 4,000 years ago. Moving on to Section 2, Egypt's bloody family feuds. So, leaving the plains of Iraq, let's head over to the Nile, where the love, hate, and ambition within Egyptian families literally built mountains. Take this staggering number, 2.3 million. That is the exact number of stone blocks King Khufu used to build the Great Pyramid at Giza. But what's really fascinating here is that this monumental project was heavily influenced by a power family dynamic. Specifically, his deep respect for his mother, Queen Hatteferes, whose tomb he packed to the brim with imported treasures from across the known world. But for all that grandeur, these dynasties were incredibly fragile and prone to some fiercely petty and lethal feuds. Fast forward to 1630 BC. Egypt is split. An Asiatic warlord named Apophis, ruling up in the north, actually provoked a catastrophic war with southern Egypt using the most bizarre excuse imaginable. He complained that King Seqenenra's sacred hippos were keeping him awake at night, from hundreds of miles away. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Well, that completely ridiculous excuse over hippos led to a very real, very brutal war, and it brought a tragic end to King Seqenenra the Brave. Captured in battle, he was subjected to exactly 5 devastating axe and sword blows that totally shattered his skull. It was a horrific public assassination, and it's wild because you can still clearly see the violent physical evidence of those blows on his mummified head today. But power families do not go down without a fight. Following Seqenenra's butchery, his family launched a viciously rapid sequence of revenge. His fierce brother Kamose swore to rip open Asiatic bellies. His brilliant widow Ahotep pacified the rebels, even earning a necklace of golden flies for her sheer courage in battle. And finally, his son Ahomos came of age and completely reunited Egypt. Now, to keep this victorious bloodline pure, the family heavily utilized incest, marrying brothers to sisters. It was a practice meant to emulate the gods, though of course biologically it would eventually weaken their lineage. Which brings us to Section 3, the female pharaoh, Hatshepsut. This intense reliance on powerful mothers and queens within the Egyptian family structure leads us directly to one of the absolute most fascinating figures in the ancient world, Hatshepsut, whose name literally translates to foremost of noblewomen, initially took power as a regent for her baby stepson, but she had this incredible political vision. After 7 years of guiding the state, she boldly shattered precedent by declaring herself the outright pharaoh of Egypt, claiming that her father had chosen her over a weak son. What is truly remarkable is how brilliantly she navigated the rigid male traditions of kingship. She ruled with astounding fluidity and power. She presented herself as a male king, Matskre, wearing the traditional male kilts and even the false beard, seamlessly blending male authority with her female identity. Under her rule, Egypt just flourished. She dispatched these massive 210-man trade fleets to the land of Punt and executed unprecedented building projects, all while ruling intimately alongside her brilliantly ambitious advisor, Senetmut. So when we strip away the grand monuments, the mythical gods, and the ancient dates, we realize something really profound. These larger-than-life potentates, from Sargon and Enheduanna to Hatshepsut, they were biologically identical to us. They were driven by the exact same familial loves, jealousies, grudges, and bonds that define human relationships today. The engine of world history isn't just some dusty timeline of dates, it's a sprawling, interwoven family tree. To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a provocative thought to chew on. As you look at your own family tree, at the generations that came before you, how does its migrations, its struggles, and its survivals echo this great engine of human history? Because every family is a little kingdom, and history is really just the story of those kingdoms colliding. Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating topic with me.